Good morning, everybody. I'm Harris Faulkner. I'm your host for the first live hour of FoxNews.com, and I'm so thrilled that you're along for the ride today. Get in on the conversation by getting in to the live chat, which appears just beneath the live box in which you're watching me now, and you can get in through Facebook, Google, any of the friendship pages. I've just signed on. I'm kind of keeping an eye on what you guys are saying, and I'll include you in the conversation as we go forward. I want to start this morning by first introducing you to my panel and jumping right in on a couple of real hot talkers this morning. I don't know if you've heard, but President Obama is being accused of siding with the Palestinians as he goes forward in trying to get Israel and the Palestinians together in a peaceful manner. It is hot topic number one today, and joining me to talk about it is David Mercer, Democratic strategist. He's joining us live from the D.C. Bureau. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Harris. How are you?
I'm well. And Andrea Tinteros, Fox News Channel contributor, is here on set. Good to see you.
How are you, Andrea?
Good to see you.
All right, so what, David, is the president's message when it comes to Israel? He's going to be having a lunch today. Didn't Israel get dissed the last time they were in country? They weren't allowed to eat lunch. I think they had like a quick coffee or a drive-by iced tea or something. Now they're going to break bread, and boy, is that conversation going to be interesting. What is the president trying to say?
He's setting a framework and trying to restart the engagement with Israel and the Palestinians on creating a two-state solution. He reiterated that, and I think it's time for them to address it in the context of both the Arab Spring and what we're seeing and the changing trends there in the Middle East, and that it's better for all that they come to the table. However, it is the two of them that will be the ones that decide on coming to the table. But at the same time, President Obama stated very clearly with regard to your earlier statement, Harris, on siding with the Palestinians, he knows very well that you can't side with one or the other. You have to stand by principle, which he tried to outline in governing the negotiations that hopefully will be restarted.
What do you mean you can't side with one or the other? Our friends are the Israelis. So let's go to Andrea now. Andrea?
They're our best ally, of course, Israel, but at the same time, in creating an environment to negotiate, you got to let those parties do it, if I can clarify it.
You know I love you, but you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth. Of course you can pick a side. Of course you can pick a side. Andrea?
Yeah, and a lot of people, and if you just read the editorial pages of the coverage of the speech, and if you look at the criticism from both the left and the right, Harris, they believe that the president did pick a side, and the side was with the Palestinians. In past, the president has been very wishy-washy on his message towards Israel, and sometimes it's been very clear. And the very clear message has been anti-Israel. It's been, we're not going to acknowledge any settlements that you continue to build. And yesterday he came out, and as much as he gave the Israelis lip service and said, we stand with you, you're an ally, he essentially said, go back to the lines of 1967.
What's the problem with that?
Which has always been a principle and part of negotiations, even in the Camp David.
It has been the key demand.
In Camp David, that's what happened. Yeah. They were talking territorial swaps. And to make my point clear, President Obama, like the United States has over its history, stands for Israel's security and its right to protect itself. And in addition, he added that if the Palestinians try to isolate Israel at the UN in September, they'll also be isolating the United States. So to be clear, you got to have principles that govern. He tried to lay a framework, as many have, for instance, like Congressman Wexler have outlined yesterday on some programs, and that is where he stands.
But that's not, but David, that may be your explanation. But that is not how Netanyahu, it is not how Jewish leaders, both Democrats and Republicans, a very, very liberal, prominent leader here in New York City, Shelley Silver, we know him here, but he's very, very liberal, and he came out and blasted the president this morning. His messages are mixed, they're muddled, and then yesterday, even though, like I said, one side of the mouth was saying, we love you, Israel, the other one was basically a big slap in the face.
All right, I want to
That is not true, because you have the J Street Group, you have ADL, you have a lot, Peace for Now, and a lot of organizations that found the speech very welcoming.
Okay. David, I want to include some of the comments off the live chat here.
Sure.
Jessie says, Obama is out of control. Actually, she said so out of control with 10 O's. Uncle Roy 68 says President Obama threw Israel under the bus yesterday. Susan says Harris He's talking out of his, well, I think Andrea and I both have said it in a different way, but hers rhymes with ut.
Oh.
Two sides
I
of his
can
mouth.
tell you unequivocally that he's still a member of the tribe, no matter how much
tribe?
comments may be heard today.
What tribe
he's still
are you
a member
talking
of the
about,
tribe.
my friend? What tribe? What
That would be the Jewish tribe.
You think Obama is Jewish?
No, in an honorary sense is what
You
I'm...
can't be an honorary... Wait a minute.
Come on, Harris. Lighten
my
up a little
Jewish.
bit.
No one in my family
Listen,
has
you
ever
got
called me an honorary
78% of the
Jew.
vote, and
I'm raising
there's
babies.
nothing on the horizon that suggests that he's not going to get that kind of vote
So,
going into 2012 as
Bill
well.
Clinton, Bill
goodness
Clinton was
gracious.
the first black president, Harris, and Barack Obama's the first Jewish.
Oh my goodness.
There
okay.
you go,
I
out of the
can't
mouth
wait to
of
hear
Andrea
from
Tantaros.
Oh, David, I don't know what's in your coffee this morning, but I want some, but at 5 o'clock, not now, because it's woo.
Oh man. Okay, you know what? Let's throw in the mix some facts from our correspondent in D.C., and then we'll come back to here. And David, whatever you were drinking that just turned the president into a Jewish man, as Andrea said, it is not legal before 5 p.m. in
You're
most
putting
countries.
words in my mouth, Harris. I said an honorary member of the Jewish tribe is what,
Okay,
and many know what that means in the Jewish community.
Okay, I'm dialing Tony now while I call my husband. No. Let's go to Wendell Goler. Wendell, it's a fight up in here. And we need some facts, my friend, to break it up. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, is meeting with the president today. What is that meeting expected to be like, and where will it be? Is this a lunch? Is it different from when they've met in the past?
Well, the fact is it's going to be probably a fairly cold meeting, no kumbaya singing, and there is a lunch involved. This, even though President Obama really didn't go farther than past presidents have on the issue of Israel and Palestinian peace talks, and really didn't offer the Palestinians any more than the Israelis have offered them themselves. He said a peace deal should be based on 1967 borders with land swaps to account for to allow Israel to keep major settlements in the West Bank. Prime Minister Netanyahu says the 67 borders would leave Israel indefensible. But they were, in fact, the starting point for Israel's peace proposal that the Palestinians turned down in 2000, and also they were in George W. Bush's 2004 letter to Ariel Sharon. Now, Israeli officials cite that letter often. They note that Mr. Bush said in the letter it is, quote, unrealistic to expect a full and complete return to the 1949 armistice lines, but the reason, he went on to say, was, quote, in light of new realities on the ground, including already existing major Israeli population centers. Now, Mr. Bush said the borders should emerge from negotiations in accordance with UN Security Council resolutions 242 and 338, which specify the 1967 borders. Aides say Prime Minister Netanyahu will tell President Obama when he gets here in a few hours he needs to keep a military presence along the Jordan River on the other side of the West Bank. Harris?
All right, Wendell Goler, thank you so much. To be a fly on the wall at that meeting would be just incredible this morning. I want to follow with you for just a second, because I know a lot of the talk right now is what these meetings will do for a run in 2012, and whether or not the conversation is broad enough that the president is having about the relations in the Middle East to cover himself for the elections, because clearly this is going to create a bumpy road. It already has. I mean, we have rabbis here in New York who want a personal meeting this weekend with the president. Wendell?
Well, some of them are going to get a relatively impersonal meeting this weekend when the president addresses the American-Israel Political Action Committee on Sunday before he heads off to Europe. Look, the president's relationship with the Jewish community in the United States has always been less warm than perhaps he would like it to be. He continually asserts and tries to reassure them of this country's unbreakable commitment to Israeli security. But in light of the Arab Spring, the president feels it is important to be seen as trying to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian dispute. You've got Egypt changing, you've got other countries, Tunisia changing, you've got upheaval in Syria and in Libya. the president feels it important to get on the right side of the Arab Spring, and part of that, I think he feels, is to show perhaps a more centered approach to the Israeli-Palestinian dispute than George W. Bush was inclined to show. Harris?
That is really interesting. I mean, if the president is worried about the so-called Arab Spring, he should pick up the phone and talk to Mr. Assad.
Well,
I mean, he should talk to the president of, the leader of Yemen. I mean, there's some places that are, yeah, it's an
that is one way to look at
conversation.
it, and I'm sure his aides will tell you that there's no U.S. military solution for the upheaval in Syria.
Right.
But if you will remember a weekend ago when Syria sent unarmed protesters across the border into Israel from 4 different countries, 4 different areas, think of what a problem that will cause for Israel, diplomatically, internationally, if suddenly the armed struggle, the suicide bombers are replaced by unarmed protesters who face Israeli guns. That is nothing Israel wants right now. And that is also a situation the president is trying to deal with.
All right, Wendell Goler, when you're in town, would you please come by and sit on set and chat in person, please?
I rarely get to New York these days, but I'd love to, Harris.
Okay, well, I'll raise a fund. And I'll protest, and we'll get you here. Wendell Goler, have a blessed weekend. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to bring back David Mercer with just a couple minutes left on the satellite here. David, Ted Yost wants you to straighten your yarmulke. Okay, and that's between you and Ted.
Step away from the Manischewitz.
Oh my goodness gracious!
That was great reporting from Wendell.
Yeah,
obviously, we talked before coming on the air.
Yeah, he's very good at what he does, Wendell Goler. I really want to pick your brain though, David. What does the president do about the so-called Arab Spring at this point? Is talking with Benjamin Netanyahu a road there?
Well, I think we're always in communication, and the President and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, they're always in touch with our ally Israel and other countries, including Turkey and others. And you got to manage it. And every state is a different one. As you mentioned, Syria is different than Egypt. It's different than Gaddafi for the reasons that Wendell pointed out of its proximity to Israel and not creating a flash fire that spreads into Israel, as Wendell alluded to earlier. So you got to manage these things, but at the same time acknowledge them. You have to inspire them and be inspired by them, and try to also rely on your allies. You know, Syria.
Okay. I only have a few more seconds with you, and I want to cut to the chase here.
Sure.
You watched the president's speech yesterday, 45 minutes or so long.
I did.
Do you understand his foreign policy?
Yes, I do.
You think it's clear? You think he made a clear case to the American public and to the world?
I think it is
in a
very...
sentence, just yes or no, in a sentence,
the
can you
answer
tell
is
me
yes.
what his foreign policy is with regard to the Middle East? One sentence.
Yep.
Go for it.
I'm sorry, Harris, I missed that. I didn't hear you.
Go for it. Tell me what his foreign policy is, please, in one sentence.
Is empowering democracies, not necessarily nation building, and providing the support necessary to see that through, as alluded to with Egypt, and the financing that he is looking to arrange for them up to the $1 billion mark, as was quoted by him in the speech yesterday.
Sounds like George Bush.
Yeah, that doesn't sound all that different. It does sound expensive.
But he's not George Bush.
Okay.
Those are my,
You sound
it
a lot
isn't
like
going to
him.
be cheap to do what you just said. Okay, David Mercer, good to see you. Have a great
Same
weekend.
here. Both of you have a good weekend.
You were fired up this morning. Dial back on the caffeine.